Hi there, this is Chris Coney from Upright Solutions here, and today's blog topic has absolutely nothing to do with internet marketing at all. It's to do with a personal experience that I've been through recently, which is the old holiday blues. Now, I I probably was a bit naive to think that this wasn't as common as it actually is. So many people who might have emailed me over the last few weeks will have got an auto response saying, I'm away in the US on holiday. And when I came back on, well, it was like a week or so ago now, I hit the ground pretty hard. Not, no, the plane didn't land hard. I mean, I came back to reality with a thud. So now I'm feeling a lot better about it. I thought I'd make a blog post about how I dealt with it and see if that helps anyone. So, what is the holiday blues? Well, it's just that feeling of feeling unmotivated and in a low energy state after returning from a trip. Now, I have some theories about this, about why it happens. So, ordinarily, this is at Grimsby Town Centre, and these are my eyes, my ears, my taste, my touch, my smell senses, and there's my mind. So, normally, all the things that I see and hear and taste and smell and touch go through my senses and into my mind, right? So, before I went away, I was quite happy. All of this input was coming into my senses, and I was interpreting them in a positive way. Now, then I went away to Las Vegas, and all of a sudden, all those inputs were replaced with, super stimulation. So, Las Vegas is probably the worst place you could go for this to happen to you, because all your attention, instead of some of it being on your senses and then some of it being on your thoughts. We have negative thoughts that are conditioned by the media and all of the bad news about the economy and all that kind of thing. Whereas when you're in Las Vegas, that disappears because you have no spare attention to put on that, because all of your senses are being stimulated so highly that your mind shuts up, and it feels pretty good because you have no negative thoughts. Um, then what happens though is that when you return to the, in inverted commas, the mundane, which is all that is just input that you recognize, right? So all of the input to my eyes and my ears and so on after I came back was pretty much the same as before I went away. But why is it that when I came back, I interpreted everything as negative, whereas before I went away it was positive? Well, it's almost as if when you're in that state, that someone's stuck some kind of filter in between your senses and your mind. Now, it can't be the senses that are different, because the input to my senses, what I see, what I saw, what I touched, everything, my house and the place where I live and so on, was all identical. But yet I was thinking negative about it. So why is that? Well, it's because all that mental noise comes back, all your negative thoughts. Um, and it seems like the world's falling apart at the time whenever you're thinking negative, but it's not realistic because the world outside hasn't changed. So what do you do about it? Well, you could drown your sorrows. A lot of people do that. That's not something I recommend. One thing I quite like are these energy drinks, which kind of bring your mood up. But again, it's only a short-term solution, and it only covers over the symptoms for a short time. The underlying holiday blues will still be there when it wears off. Some people comfort eat, chocolate, whatever, same sort of thing. It's only treating the symptoms. It's not actually a cure long term, and it could probably make it worse. One of my favourite blokes, Dov Boren, what he would say is stop easing your pain. And what he means by that is don't cover over the feeling. It might not be very pleasant, but the only way to build up resistance is to just be with it and let it, just sit with it and then let it go on its own. Because if you constantly ease your pain, then it'll feel 10 times worse every time it reoccurs. Whereas if you get used to it, it's like building resistance, right? One thing I would recommend is that you fall back on your community. Go to the golf club, go speak to your friends, your family, whatever. Because there was a tendency with me when people said, "How was it?" I told them the trip was great, but I'd almost resisted telling them that I'd felt bad having come back. Um, but in the end, I started to tell people, and they're like, "Oh, that's completely understandable." And I was like, "Oh, what a relief!" I'm not a freak, right? So go to your community, just talk about how you feel. They don't necessarily need to offer any solutions, but just talking about it often helps. So what this is me talking. I would say get your beliefs right. I would say expect you to have the holiday blues, and on top of that, the reason we get the holiday blues is because something we was enjoying comes to an end, and if we are unrealistic to think it could last forever anyway, because nothing does in the world, and you probably couldn't debate me on that. So it's easier said than done, but this is my view. Just be with it and let it go on its own. And I've now kind of come out the other side and can see the light of day. So hopefully that was helpful to everyone, and I welcome some comments.